If you're looking for a new way to support the podcast, check out Dubby.gg, an energy supplement company trying to make a difference. There, you can use code SIDEMISSION for 10% off your order. Thank you to Dubby for sponsoring this episode, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. I, like always, am your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by the boys, Kyle Lynch and Matt Beck. And today we are finally discussing Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Kyle, we said this about Modern Warfare 2019, and I think it bears repeating this year. I know saying the word bears repeating to you might cause a PTSD attack, so I'm sorry about the phrasing there. That's a Crash Bandicoot 4 reference for anyone out there who doesn't get it. But Kyle, this feels like another return to form for Call of Duty across the board that the franchise desperately needed when you look at the campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. It's hard to argue that this year's rendition of Call of Duty isn't the best one we've seen in probably 5 years. I think this is a damn good Call of Duty.
I think this is the best Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 2019. I liked Modern Warfare 2. I think that there were a lot of things that they changed that Modern Warfare 2019 did better, and Vanguard was obviously ass. Cold War was good, I just don't think it scratched that same itch. And I did not play Modern Warfare 3. But Black Ops 6...
It wasn't good.
Yeah, it was not. That game shouldn't have even come out. That shit was literally a Modern Warfare 2 DLC. It was bad. But Black Ops 6 shows what Call of Duty can be if we don't annually release the game. Because remember back when they said, when Microsoft first purchased Activision, they were like, we're not going to make Call of Duty a yearly thing. And they went back on that really fast and said, well, actually, we're going to come out with Modern Warfare 3 this year, and it's going to be $70. I think that it's because Treyarch needed another year to work on Black Ops 6, and look at how good it is. If they didn't do yearly releases, we could probably get Call of Duty to be quality like this every year we got.
Consistently. No, I would agree. I think that, again, when you look at it across the board, there's so much to like about this year's Call of Duty. Obviously, a lot has been said about the movement in multiplayer and about how sweaty it is. But if we're being honest, Call of Duty has kind of more or less been that way for years. Realistically, ever since Modern Warfare 2019, it's more or less been that way. So it's not really something that I can be mad about because I don't know what people expected in a Call of Duty game in 2024. Matt, the campaign directly follows Cold War, and kind of more or less we keep up with most of the same characters. I know Russell Adler, obviously, we meet back up with him at some point. Frank Woods is back in this game. We do follow quite a few new characters as well, though. And one thing I said personally that I liked about this game and what I felt this game did really well was the new characters that are introduced are pretty good characters. I think they're well written, they're well voice acted, and in terms of actual story, COD isn't known for fantastic campaigns. I know that Black Ops 2, the first two Black Ops games, are both really damn good campaigns, and the Modern Warfare series early on was really damn good storytelling. But this feels like one of the best COD campaigns I've played in a while, and a lot of that I feel like we have to credit to the characters. I feel like they do a good job of carrying this story.
Yeah, honestly, so as coming from someone who does not have a lot of experience with Call of Duty campaigns, because I don't think I play one all the way properly through since Advanced Warfare, this one really took me by surprise because, I just mostly think of Call of Duty as, just a multiplayer game. I don't really play, the campaigns, but I was really glad that, like, when, this game first came out, I jumped right into the campaign as the first thing that I did. And there's so much variety in the missions, and the chemistry between the cast is really excellent. Like, everybody just really, feeds off of each other. There's a lot of moments where I just felt like, just how good the game looks. Like, it just felt real at times, just when they're just goofing off, or they're just bantering, or they're getting into arguments. Everything felt real, and that has a lot to do with, like I said, just the chemistry of the cast, how well everything looks. I love the hub world just being this old mansion that Adler was staying hidden in. Like, it's a pretty cool hub world that has like its own little secrets in between when you hop into missions. And on top of that, there's a lot of variety in the missions as well. I mean, you kind of start off with the kind of typical fanfare. It's just like you're out there in the Middle East, and you're on your way to find somebody who they're looking for, and there's just a really big twist there once you find him, and then it's to this like action-packed moment where you're in the back of a caravan shooting down I believe a helicopter, and things just get really crazy. And then it just kind of tones down a little bit. There's this character that you're looking for. When you end up finding her, you're told your mission, where you're basically supposed to go to the top of this tower to assassinate a drug lord. That was a really cool moment as well. But one moment that really, really sticks out to me is the mission where you kind of go to this old abandoned area, and there's this gaseous like toxin that your character ends up coming across, and you basically just start tripping, and like you're basically experiencing the main character's past, what led up to a lot of the moments that come to the conclusion of the story. And there's a lot of craziness happening. There's a moment that I loved it, where you have to find 4 keys in order to access to the elevator, and in one of those sections, like, these creepy ass mannequins are following you. And if like any Doctor Who fans know who the Weeping Angels are, very similar to that. When you look away, you hear them moving around, and then you turn back around to look at them, and they're all in different positions because they're following you the moment you're not looking at them. And another one of my favorite moments is in the casino. Rusty, I think did you like this one as much as I did?
Oh, I did. That one thing you've touched on that I thought was great. I think the mission variety is really, really top notch, just because it doesn't feel like you're doing the same thing twice. Like, I love the mannequins. Like you said, I think the creepiest thing about the mannequins, and I'll let you continue, you'll hear them move, and you'll turn around, and you'll try to stop them in their place. But the last second that you turn and look at them, like, you'll see one of them like abruptly stop moving, and it just added to that creep factor so much that, again, it builds that sense of dread, that sense of terror, a little bit of like, you feel like you're being watched. You feel like something is happening, but you don't quite know what.
Yeah.
And that, again, it just kind of adds to the atmosphere of that entire mission. And then the casino, like you said, again, it didn't feel like you were doing two similar things on any given mission. I loved the vibe of the casino mission, and that when it does turn into a shootout, that became one of my favorite levels in the entire game.
Yeah, like that's the other thing I wanted to comment on, is in some missions that you have like multiple ways to approach it, either in a stealth manner or just be a little bit more guns a-blazing. For the most part, I did try to do it stealthily, just because I wanted to have that type of play style, because when it's given to me, I'll typically try and go with that way. But it worked really well. I don't feel like that the enemies were too difficult to get past, unlike Star Wars Outlaws. I had a big issue with that in the stealth missions. But this one felt fair, especially when you like stay in the dark. As someone who has played games like Splinter Cell, I like that kind of aspect when it comes to stealth missions. It's just like staying in the dark, shooting the lights out, turning the lights off, just things like that. But the casino being one of my favorite levels is just because not only do you get to play as your main character, but it switches between Marshall, it switches between the female character. I can't remember her name right now. I think it's they call her Dumas.
Oh yeah.
I like the fact that you switch between characters because they each have their own specific mission, like their own specific task that they are, here to do. Whereas the main character, he gets himself caught and taken down into the basement of the casino, and then it switches over to, Marshall, who they have to collect this code from this big gambler. So you kind of get to go play a game of poker. And then you end up switching over with Dumas, who is pretending to be a server, and then you get to basically sneak into the back area because you're wearing the outfit and everything. You're not as suspicious, but yeah, like that right there just really highlighted a lot of my favorite parts about the campaign. I think the story to an extent was pretty good too. up until the ending, and I'll let you get to that one. Because I just can't stand it when games like have such a good story, but then things just abruptly end without any really big good conclusion because they want to either sell it to you later as DLC or try and mix it in with, you know, their multiplayer and their battle passes.
Yeah, well, I'll get to that because I do agree with you. I think that the ending, it is the rough part of the campaign, and they did something similar with Modern Warfare 2019. They did it with Modern Warfare 2. They did it with Cold War. I'll get to that in a second, but, well, at least when we get to critiques, I'll get to that because that's my biggest critique. But Kyle, for me, what I liked most about this campaign is that what have Call of Duty fans been asking for over a decade now? We've been asking for Call of Duty to innovate. We've been asking for Call of Duty to show us something different that isn't just going down, you know, a 5-6 minute mission where it's nothing but shootouts. You get a little bit of dialogue towards the story, and then you go on from there. Sure, the shooting is the fun part of the game. I absolutely agree with that. But this game innovates. It tries to do things differently, and it succeeds just about across the board. And I feel like one of the best parts that Matt mentioned that I really wanted to touch more on was the hub of the mansion that you stay in. I feel like being able to upgrade it and being able to add new things to the area, being able to add upgrades to, you know, your loadouts. I think the puzzles that you can solve there as well. I liked that quite a bit. I wanted more of that. I want more puzzle solving because, in my opinion, this game had really high moments where the puzzles were at the forefront, and I felt like they were executed very well. Kyle, we keep asking for COD to innovate. It innovated this year, and I'm glad they did because, to me, that's one of the biggest bright spots of this game.
Absolutely. They did a lot. They did a lot with the campaign, a lot with the multiplayer, a lot with the zombies. It's been a long time since all three were unanimously good. You know, and I think it's because, like you said, they innovated. They did a lot of new things in each area. And man, especially the zombies. Holy shit. That thrill of doing that Easter egg the other day was insane. But,
yes,
you know, we did it. I mean, like, dude, the zombies in this game, I've played zombies since the beginning, and the last couple of games has not been what I've wanted, and I think this is the perfect medium because, like, a lot of people did not like when they went away from round-based. That's just, I don't know, what zombies has always been. To me, I prefer round-based zombies. I didn't like when they tried to make it like Warzone or DMZ or whatever. That just didn't have the same feel, and you only got like 60 minutes. Whereas, you know, I could be playing round-based zombies for hours, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, and we'll transition away from the campaign to zombies and multiplayer. Multiplayer is kind of more or less what you expect in a COD game. It's fast-paced, it's quick to kill, it's quick to die, it's all of that. Kyle, you had the line of, we're going to play Nuketown 24/7 on hardcore, and we're going to hate ourselves. It is true, but at the same time, it's almost like comical how fast you die, especially if you're bad at the game. It's kind of comical at a certain point because, like, you run into the middle of the map and it's just death. You spawn, you run 2 steps, you die. You spawn, you take a step, you die, and it's almost hysterical at a certain point. Like, it really does have. You have to be able to laugh at it. I think it's very easy to take it too serious, but I feel like if you're able to laugh at it, you'll enjoy it a little bit more, and eventually you will start getting good at it if you stick with it. On the zombies aspect, one thing that I liked the most about this was it didn't have the problem of Cold War, and it didn't have the problem of Black Ops 4. They each had separate issues relating to the same thing. Black Ops 4, if you bought the Black Ops Pass, which I know I did, I'm pretty sure you did as well, Kyle. If you bought that, there were 4 zombie maps at launch. And it's not that they were all bad maps. 9 was a really good map. I think Classified was a really good take on 5. And I thought that while Blood of the Dead had its issues, it was a fun map once you got set up and got going. We're not going to talk about Voyage of Despair because that is a terrible zombies map. We don't acknowledge the existence of that map. Meanwhile, in Cold War, D Machine was a good map, but it was very difficult. And there was no real balance to it. It was one of those where you are either good at this game or you are not good at this game. And there is no in between. Because if you're good at the game, you might have fun with it. If you're not good at the game, you're going to play it 2 or 3 times and you're never going to touch it again, and it's probably going to discourage you from getting involved in any of the maps that come out as part of DLC. This game, however, with Liberty Falls and Terminus, I felt like 2 maps was the sweet spot, and one map is definitely more casual, one map is definitely more hardcore, and depending on what you want to do, Kyle, there's something for pretty much every level of player. On Liberty Falls, it's very possible for you to go for high rounds, enjoy it, have fun, do the Easter egg like we did it. And worth pointing out, we did it all the while one of us pretty much couldn't talk on the mic. So it says a lot about how we were able to do it. Worth pointing out, Kyle, you couldn't talk on the mic. Matt jumped in randomly on like round 15. So, I mean, we didn't all start out in the game and one of us couldn't talk and we still did the Easter egg. So, Liberty Falls is a great map for that point. If you're a more hardcore player and you want a challenge, Terminus is great for that. There's definitely areas that you can train and go for high rounds and have success. The Easter egg is definitely a lot harder. But again, if you want to push yourself, Terminus is a great option for that. I feel like, Kyle, they struck the perfect balance of appealing to every level of player in this Zombies mode, while also not bloating it with 4 maps and different storylines where we're not sure, okay, what storyline should we care about? What should we get invested in? What map should we be spending the most time in? This strikes the perfect balance.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I like how you were talking about, Liberty Falls is definitely more, for casual players, and Terminus is for, more veterans. That was one of the smartest moves, I think, that they've made, because there are a lot of people like me who didn't play a whole lot of the recent Zombies. It's been a while, I'm kind of out of the loop, and starting on Liberty Falls kind of allowed me to bring back that muscle memory, and I like that even if you don't want to do the Easter egg, like if you just want to play on standard mode, everything that you remember from Zombies perks, buying doors and Pack-a-Punch, it's all there, and it's all very easy to find. You're not building anything, you're not turning on any power, it's all there. And there are also a ton of little Easter eggs that you can go around and do and find that, classic Zombies fashion. But man, Terminus is rough.
It's difficult.
I haven't even done that Easter egg. I haven't even attempted it. That shit is hard. There's no way we're doing that with somebody on mute.
Yeah, like Terminus is definitely the harder of the two, but it's also one of those when I look at the map design, I love the layout of it because it feels very similar to maps like Mob of the Dead or Zetsubou no Shima, where for the most part, it's tight spaces. Like there's not a lot of big open areas in that map. Like you've got to be pretty good to be able to make high rounds, but if you can get set up and you can get to the island, all of a sudden high rounds becomes a lot more doable. So one thing I also liked about this Zombies mode, and I liked it a lot more this time around compared to Cold War, was the perk setup and how you can buy any perk in any order you want, and the price goes up with each one. I liked it a lot more here, and I think a lot of it was because the perks were a lot more limited. In terms of, there's only, I think, 6 or 7 that you can get instead of being able to get 8 or 9, and you can get them all without having to worry about having to, get, a gobble gum or anything, which, by the way, I love that those are back, and I love how those are implemented. I think they're done really, really good here to where they're not game-breaking, but they're also still very, very useful. They have their uses still. I think that, again, it feels like they struck the perfect balance here versus what Cold War and BO4 did. Definitely a lot better than what Vanguard did. Vanguard was fucking atrocious. In terms of critique, and Matt, you've already alluded to it, I want to talk about the ending of the campaign, because this is my biggest critique, and it might be legitimately my only critique. I think the campaign tells a really good story with compelling characters. However, I'm never going to be a fan, and I know, again, Modern Warfare 2019 did this. Modern Warfare 2 did this. Cold War did this, and I'm not a fan of it. The story does not need to continue in Warzone. It does not need to continue there. Warzone is a battle royale. It needs to stay that way. It does not need to be where, characters get resurrected in this mode, or characters that you thought were dead, they actually aren't. Like, I don't know if either of you knew this, but in Modern Warfare 2, the most recent one. You remember how Philip Graves in that game, you have that boss fight with him in the tank, and you kill him? Y'all remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So did y'all know in Warzone, later in one of the later seasons, that's where they brought him back? And do y'all know how they brought him back?
No.
Y'all are going to be just as irritated by this as I was. Alex, who is one of the characters that died originally in Modern Warfare 2019, who was then resurrected in Warzone, Graves is there randomly in one of the cutscenes, and Alex looks at him and goes, "Graves, I thought you died in a tank in whatever country it was in South America." And Graves, with a deadpan look, looks at him, and the writing is literally, "I wasn't in that tank."
Jesus Christ.
That is quite literally how they brought him back. And if you go watch the cutscene, it will make you mad as a COD fan. It will make you mad. Like, I was like, really? That's the best we could do here? I wasn't in that tank. Okay, Call of Duty, sure, if you want me to believe that. That just kills one of the biggest parts of the story, but okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
for real.
Good to know.
Wow.
So for this game to end, and again, had it not done this, and it not hinted at this, I wouldn't have had a problem with where it ended, because abrupt endings are not always a bad thing. I think about Last of Us. That's the first game. An abrupt ending there was not a bad thing. It was a good thing. It was a lot of ambiguity. We didn't know if we were going to get a second game at the time, and I was okay with that. This, however, knowing that it's going to continue in Warzone, I'm not a fan of that. And I think that very much makes the writing and makes the planning for the campaign, it makes it look a little lazy, in my opinion, because you could have written a good ending. In fact, I have an ending prepared that to present to you two that I think would have made for a better ending and would have made for a holy shit, I cannot wait for the next Black Ops game. It is revealed at the end of this one to Marshall, to Adler, to Woods, it is revealed that there is a mole in the CIA. We already knew that, but it's there's sources in the CIA that are trying to clearly take down America, that are trying to take down the CIA from within. And the last thing we see is a close-up of a guy that we have no idea who he is. He's apparently in the first cutscene in the game, taking notes off to the side of the initial meeting in the very first cutscene. And supposedly, this guy is supposed to be the mole. The problem is, we have no idea who this guy is. And I guarantee you, we're not going to find out until it gets revealed in Warzone who he is. I think a better ending, and I know there are going to be purists that hate this, but again, if this had happened, I would have been looking forward to the next COD in the Black Ops franchise with a lot of hype. I think that the mole should have been revealed to have been Alex Mason. I personally think that Alex Mason should have been revealed as the mole. Because, again, seeing a character that we have played in multiple games as, I believe 3 games now, we've played as Alex Mason in Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, and Black Ops Cold War. I think that would have been a holy shit, this hero has gone rogue. Maybe he's under control because of the numbers again. Holy shit. Like, that would have been wild. Instead, Matt, we're kind of more or less given this reveal that for me, it didn't do anything, and I know for you, it didn't do anything.
Honestly, yeah, because like one of the last sections involving Harrow being put under that drug, and then you're just kind of going through her past, learning about what happened to her as a child with her parents being murdered, leading all up to as to why she is, I mean, I guess you could say evil, but she doesn't see it as such. But like that right there was just a really cool segment. And it gave a lot of character development, and I actually thought that there was going to be some really good conclusion here, but all it turned out to be was the person who shot her parents, we don't exactly know who it is. I don't think they revealed it, or I think they did. I think it was...
It was just the faction that you're going against, but apparently the CIA worked with them to take them down. That was the bigger. And Kyle, sorry, I don't know if you've beaten the campaign yet, so if we're spoiling it, sorry. But that's the big reveal, is that Jane Harrow is the bad guy in this story because her parents were killed. She believes it was Russell Adler because that was the story she was fed for so many years. But in actuality, it was the CIA working with this faction to take our parents down because they had information that they did not want them letting loose. So it's a great reveal, and it's a reveal they could have built on, but I just don't feel like now there's much room to build on it.
Yeah, and like the setup was so good. Like I love the moment where you basically you take arms at the mansion, you defend it, and like it's just basically a giant shootout, using all different kinds of weapons, from using like mortar strikes and using like grenades because they send out tanks. Like it was epic. Like it was so freaking cool. Like I didn't want to put the controller down. And then once all that's over, and then the main character has to get to Harrow's helicopter, and she gets up in there, and it's not really a moment that is playable. It's just more of a cutscene, more of like a movie, but it was still really cool. And then they have her, and then it's just they're talking about how did all of this lead up to this, and it just turned out because that there is a mole within the CIA, and then that's kind of it. Now I like it ending like that if I knew that that's exactly where it's going to pick up from the sequel. But like when you personally told me that more than likely all of this is going to be revealed in Warzone, I was like, I don't play Warzone.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't care for battle royale modes. Like I get it, it's fun.
Like I don't play it with you guys again because I enjoy playing Call of Duty with you two. But I mean, like we won a game in 2019. And then, Matt, to my knowledge, that was the last time all three of us played Warzone together.
It was. I do remember because we were camping in the upstairs of this house, and we just basically stared at the whole entire game. And then we all got together down when the circle was closing in into this little shed. I ended up dying, but you two survived, so y'all pulled us through on that one. But
Kyle says, Warzone ?
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, maybe one of these days we can hit up some Warzone and see how it is in Black Ops 6, but I'm not eager to get into it. I mean, I prefer to play zombies with you.
Yeah, I mean, I very much feel the same way. I mean, I think that this story could have been something fantastic, and instead it feels kind of hollow at the end of it, and I'm not a huge fan of that. And Kyle, I think for me, where this story could have really taken off, and it could have been even better than it already was, we all love the Modern Warfare series. I mean, the stories that have been told there have been great, but and Kyle, I'm interested if you feel the same way, there's a realism factor to the Black Ops franchise because, let's be real, do the three of us think that the CIA in real life is some clean-cut organization that's never done anything wrong? No, none of the three of us think
Absolutely
that.
Not.
Like, the CIA is one of the most corrupt organizations in the world. Like, there's a realistic nature to these games in the Black Ops series, and it just feels like, again, not being willing to tell that full story in the campaign, it feels like we're a little cheated, honestly.
Yeah, I don't really play Warzone. I'm not a big Battle Royale fan, so I don't know. It kind of feels shitty that for people who aren't into that game mode, they're just forgetting about us. It's like, well, you don't get the rest of the story. Watch it on YouTube. I do feel like Warzone has not been the forefront of this game, though. For once, thank God, because the last, ever since Warzone came out in Modern Warfare 2019, it's been all they have pushed. Zombies and multiplayer and campaign all got pushed to the side and have been shit. Because Warzone was their baby. It was the only thing that they talked about. It's the only thing that they cared about for years. And this is finally the first time where I feel like Warzone is the side mode. And Zombies is the forefront. The campaign is the forefront. The multiplayer is there. I mean, it's always there. But it's just not so focused on Warzone finally. And it's very, very disappointing for the campaign to be continued in Warzone, because it's like, man, you guys were so close. You had it. And then they end the campaign like that the same way they've done the last few. I get they want to keep going with it, but at the same time, like I said, there are a lot of people who aren't into Battle Royale or whatever they're doing on Warzone. I'm just completely forgotten about when it comes to the story, so if I want to know the ending, I literally have to watch it online or suffer through whatever the fuck is on there. Like I don't enjoy Warzone. I like playing it with my friends because it's fun to just go on there and fuck around, but I don't play it competitively. I play the multiplayer competitively. But while we're on the topic of critiques, my only other critique is why the fuck did you make basic gobblegums limited? I can literally run out of gobblegums and then you just can't use any. That feels like you're trying to make me spend money, and I hate that.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Like the basic ones, like come on, double points and insta kill that's just spawning power ups. The basic ones have always been free, and they've been unlimited. You could get as many of them as you want, but now I have to even save those. I have to literally buy those. I don't like that I have to, go into games like, okay, am I going to be using Gobblegums this game? Am I going to be doing the Easter egg? Or can I, even for practice rounds, I can't use Gobblegums because I'm wasting them. If I hate it.
Yeah, I think that you bring up a good point that, like, not all Gobblegums need to be limited. I think that they're implemented really well, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not really incentivized to use them unless I plan on spending money. And that's an issue, and I do agree with that. It's a very fair critique of the Gobblegum system in this game. I do think as a whole, this game is really damn good. And again, if you're somebody that's been out of COD for a while and you're looking for a reason to jump back in, I think this is a great game to do so. I think there are some fair critiques, but I do think Black Ops 6 is a massive step in the right direction for a franchise that desperately needed a really good release this year. Now, there is one thing I am really excited about, Kyle. And I hope that this is true. I don't know if it will be, but there's a rumor that the next Black Ops game that gets released is going to be more of a direct sequel to Black Ops 2, which is what I've always felt Black Ops 3 should have been. And if it is a direct sequel to Black Ops 2, that has me excited.
That would be cool. I would like that a lot, honestly. And also, before we wrap up, I also want to talk about the multiplayer a little bit. The camo grind, as somebody who has done it every year, is for once not miserable. It is a little bit boring, yes, because it's headshots with every single gun. However, I can do that on any map, in any game mode. It doesn't matter. So it's not like...
And that's awesome.
Yeah, it's not like I got to get long shots, so I can't do it on this map, or I can't do it on half the maps. And then I have to spend half the time camped in a spot because you have to be so far. Just being headshots, dude, the camo grind is easier than it's ever been. Thank you so much. I know some people don't like it because they think it's boring. They're like, oh, just doing headshots, with every gun. I think it's great because I can do it in every map, every game mode. It just gives me a little bit more freedom, I think.
No, I agree. That's another. I'm glad you brought that up because that is a massive strength. Being able to do that in zombies, I think, is awesome. I think being able to accomplish even part of it in other modes is a really, really good thing. And I hope that's something they continue moving forward. So, fellas, it's been a good episode. I know that we're not done playing Black Ops 6. I know we're going to play it for a while after launch, at least until the next COD comes out, because this is a really good Call of Duty. And again, if you're looking for a reason to jump back in, I think you've got one in Black Ops 6, especially if you're an Xbox or PC owner, because it's on Game Pass. And that makes it even better value, in my opinion. So that is going to do it for this episode of Side Mission. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can find us on Facebook as well at Side Mission Podcast. For the boys, for Kyle, for Matt, I'm Rusty. Thanks for listening.